Hello. So I decided to check out this Gillette ad that has caused a bit of a backlash and a degree of controversy. Um, Basically, the ad, Gillette being the shaving company, of course, was aimed at men and it had this tagline, "Be the best man you can be." Now, I haven't bought that many Gillette products over the years, but when I shave, I use various different products. I'm not really loyal to any one brand, but I know that a lot of men who are loyal to Gillette has said this has stopped them from buying its products. This has provoked a bit of a backlash. So basically, the video, it's about just under 2 minutes long. It shows the first half of the video is showing some very negative attributes that are associated, rightly or wrongly, with masculinity. Um, so, for example, it's showing sleazy guys catcalling. It's showing bullying, school bullying. It's showing things that are um, just negative, and it's associating that with what it means to be. And then it has this line of guys saying, "Boys will be boys. Boys will." They're almost like the drones. So the message being that men are somehow brainwashed into thinking that into enforcing this sort of mentality. The second half of the video shows guys kind of doing the right thing, being good guys. So a guy stopping his mate from catcalling, a man breaking up two little boys who are fighting, um, and things like that. So the video's been attacked. If you look at the video, and I'll try to post a link, if you look at it, the number of likes versus dislikes, the likes are somewhere around 347,000 the last time I checked, dislikes 730,000. So why has there been this backlash? It's become yet again another tiresome male versus female debate. Although I have to say there are women who share the irritation about this ad. I know that Piers Morgan made a tweet saying that it's a nauseating, or this is not a quote unquote, but he said it's a PC driven campaign that's virtue signaling and adding to the never-ending nail shimming that is out there. That wasn't word for word, but it was along those lines. Soledad O'Brien on CNN, her response was "Shut up, Piers," which is very intelligent argument. Shut up, Piers. She clearly won that one. Uh, I find myself in agreement with Piers Morgan. People have called the ad sexist. Well, I think there is problematic messages therein. Now, its defenders will say, oh, no, it's not demonizing all men because it's showing good guys doing the right thing. The point I would make about this ad, and my feeling about it was incredibly patronizing. Incredibly patronizing. Because the majority of men don't behave like this in the first place. Yes, you get sleazy guys. I'm not ignoring the problem. You do get guys who disrespect women, who uh, treat other men badly for that matter, and so on. But take, for example, the bullying segment they used. Why is that being aimed at men? Some of the worst bullying there is in girls' schools. Girls bullying other girls. What about that? So why is that being associated with masculinity? Um, Girls can be incredibly. We all know what gossip is like in girls' schools. My younger sister had a terrible time. So I take issue with the insinuation that bullying is solely a male domain. Utter nonsense. Bullies can be male or female, young or old. So that's nonsense. Um, but I think the reason this has got a backlash is men just interpret it as patronizing and as an attempt at male shaming. And as someone pointed out, it's an example of a product using social politics, using virtue signaling to sell their product, essentially. Although, interestingly enough, there was barely any mention of razors in the entire commercial. Gillette, it's a razor. You'd expect to see a guy shaving. No, that barely even featured. I don't think it featured at all. So, in other words, this is Me Too injecting itself into something that's totally it's about men's shaving products. Now they will argue, oh, but men need to learn. Men need to. The point I would make is most men already know. They already know. They get it. So they don't need to be condescended and kind of lectured on how to behave because most men already know this. And men actually do stand up towards other men who behave in an inappropriate way. It already happens. That's why people resent the ad because it's patronizing. Um, and those feminists who are saying that men are whinging about it, they just don't get it because there isn't a day goes by when there isn't yet another advertisement or campaign shaming men. And ostensibly, it's about issues like women's equality, but very often that just morphs into male shaming, which is why I reject third wave feminism. I think it's got a lot more to do with dividing people than uniting people. It's got a lot more to do with telling women that they're constantly victims, that they're constantly kept down, which is ironic because they will say it's about strong, independent women. Well, what about strong, independent men? Or is that sexist? Basically, you don't have to be a militant MRA. You don't have to be a really alpha male to see what's going on here. It's just yet another example of male shaming. That's what it is. And I've no doubt Gillette will deny that, but they need to learn a lesson from this. Don't try to virtue signal and then, expect no consequences. You can't attack an entire demographic and expect people to be okay with that. Just imagine an advertisement that was targeting all women and trying to shame all women, or an advertisement that was trying to shame all black people or all white people. You cannot take an entire demographic and try to shame them and then expect them to just be okay with it. Oh, yes, yes, thank you for informing me. I'll be a good boy. I'll do the right thing. That's how it comes across. And it's just condescending nonsense. And I would play the devil's advocate and say, oh, well, they're showing good guys in the video. So I wouldn't say it's outright sexist because they do show that good guys are out there, but the message is problematic. It's suggesting that the problem is such that most men are bad guys. That's what the beginning of the video insinuates. And it is sexist insofar as it's suggesting that only men are bullies, which is complete rubbish. You get I've been bullied by women in the workplace. It's not pleasant. It can happen to anyone, and it's so I have a big problem with that message. So those who are defending the video, you might say, "Oh, but it's not attacking all men. It's just showing what men should do." My counter to that is we already know. We don't need to be patronized. Okay, so I know from my personal experience, I've spoken up when guys have been sleazy around women. For example, I've been around female friends and I've had guys sort of come on to them but not take no for an answer, and it didn't escalate, but I did kind of defuse the situation and made it clear that she wasn't happy. So that's just I know that I do that, and the point is this ad is aimed at all men, so it is attacking an entire demographic, and I'd love to know who came up with it. Some people say it was a feminist lobby group. Some people say it was Gillette themselves, virtue signaling. I think it's probably a bit of both. Um, but imagine if men got involved directly with a women's product and told women what they should think about themselves. Okay, you have a history of that in the modeling business and other areas. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but it's more to do. It's got far less to do with social dynamics. Like, for example, um, shaming women. I don't think it's comparable. At least not today. Maybe it was in the past. Certainly 1950s women were pigeonholed into what they should be, housewives and so on. But feminism is so overriding in our culture these days that unless a woman is strong and independent and vocal, and then it's kind of interesting because there's this thing that feminists come out with. Oh, strong men aren't intimidated by strong women. Well, no, they're not. But how about strong women not being intimidated by strong men? Why is the focus always on how awful men are? That's the problem, and I think that's why this ad is problematic, and I have no sympathy for them. They tried to virtue signal, they tried to shame an entire demographic, and it's backfired.